Hello, I'm Rick Penny. I'm by no means a pastor or even a lay servant, and to tell you the truth, standing in front of people makes me very nervous. And I would like to apologize because I do not have a high definition face, even though this is recorded in high definition. I'm sometimes associated with the puppets that you see on our weekly recordings. So you may know me from there. I must warn you, I've never gotten through this story without crying. I'd like to share a couple of scriptures, if you don't mind. I find them meaningful. Luke chapter 12, verses 22 and 23. Then Jesus said to his disciples, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothes." And Psalms 23 from the King James Version, just because I find it so poetic. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yes, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Pastor Mike asked, encouraged, and prodded me to put together a few words of testimony about my experiences with cancer. I'd like to give you a bit of history. Beginning in 2010, I experienced multiple health challenges, including repeat episodes of shingles that confounded my doctors. After months and years of praying, "God, please heal me," I made a change in my prayer. I prayed, "God, I give up. Please show us the way." One morning, just days after I changed my prayers, I woke to blood in my urine and was told to go to the emergency room by my physician. Long story short, I was told I had cancer on my left kidney. On February 21st, 2013, I had major surgery to remove my kidney and the attached tumor. It was very large and very aggressive, but it had been contained in the capsule of the kidney. All my lymph nodes were clear, so after healing, I tried to get back to a normal life with a giant change in perspective. Things seemed to be going well. God was good and saw me through all this without any major complications. I was back to work in less than a week. I was being followed with 6-month CAT scans just to make sure there were no recurrences. And in 2016, the follow-up CAT scan showed nodules in my lungs. The nodules had changed and multiplied and were growing. After several visits with several doctors, I was told the nodules were probably and most likely metastatic lesions from my kidney cancer. While very small, there were too many, but they were still going to observe them because they were small, and without major surgery could not be biopsied. Later, the growth and changes did occur. The doctor told me that he probably would start treatment if they kept changing. But until the lesions were large enough to biopsy, he wanted to wait. So I was on 3-month recall and 6-month CAT scans. My 6-month CAT scan followed, and the doctor saw me a week later. I have to tell you, everybody had been praying, but I felt like I was going to hear the words, "Let's start treatment. It's time." I wasn't sleeping well, with concern, and when the doctor's appointment came, I was very nervous, and I have to admit, a bit scared. My doctor, who's a wonderful person, entered the room with no nurse, no resident, which is uncommon. I assumed that that was because he was going to tell me that things had changed and we needed to start treatment. But the words that came out of his mouth were, "All the nodules are smaller. I can't tell you what they are, but I can tell you they're not cancer." I'm sure I sat with my mouth open because it shocked me. No scan for a year, he said. And if that was good, maybe even longer. This happened all right before Thanksgiving. And you know, often before Thanksgiving, people will ask you, "What are you thankful for?" Well, that year, my response was, everything. I'm thankful for everything. I was being followed and observed with little change in my condition until 2020. You know, that year of bad vibes, bad memories. And so my story continues. On Saturday, October 3rd, I felt like I was having a migraine. It was so bad I couldn't function. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't eat anything. I couldn't even swallow water. And I lost my ability to read and write. So I began to think there was something more going on besides just a migraine. Still too sick to get out of bed, I was helped to the emergency room. Had a CAT scan, and was told I had a tumor in my brain causing bleeding, which was causing the pain and the nausea. I was transferred immediately by ambulance to Barnes Jewish in St. Louis and scheduled for brain surgery. Options were discussed and treatment was set. The staff wanted me in the hospital because they were concerned about my welfare. I was basically experiencing bleeding on the brain, and they worried that if I went home, I wouldn't come back alive. In surgery prep, the staff gave me 3 IVs and 1 arterial line. I only have 2 arms. That was a lot. And some of those lines were very large in diameter. I found out later that that is because they were very worried about me and my ability to survive the surgery. Surgery occurred Friday morning, October 10th. And when I woke, the calm God's hand provides told me the surgery went fine. When the surgeon came in, he repeated those words. The surgery went fine. As a matter of fact, if I could have picked the place for the lesion, that's exactly where I would have picked it, to make it easy and to make it so it caused very little damage. God protected me. I was up and moving just hours after major brain surgery. I was conversing, walking, and functioning just like normal. The surgeon came in to check on me and asked how I was doing. I said, a whole lot better than I thought I would be. And then he said, can you read? I said, no, I'm having a problem with that. He said, well, have you tried since surgery? I said, no, I didn't think there was a reason to. So he handed me the water mug that was sitting on the table. And he said, try and read this. Well, I have to tell you, before I stopped crying, I had read the whole cup. And the surgeon was amazed. And so was my wife, sitting next to me crying. They even felt that I was doing so well that I could be released from ICU sooner than normal. When I got to the neurosurgery floor, I was doing well. It was Saturday morning. The weekend surgeon and resident came in and told me, well, you know, you could go home early. And then they looked at my chart and they said, but you just had surgery yesterday, so don't count on it until Monday. Sunday, they sent occupational therapy and physical therapy to evaluate me to go home. Well, the evaluation started out as just a walk down the hall. They had the 6-foot spacing markers on the hallway, and so on the way back from the walk, the occupational therapist said, can you step over those? I said, well, sure. So I did. And then we started to play hopscotch. She was amazed, and she asked out loud, why am I even here? You're doing so well. When it came to Monday morning, the papers were already ready. I made a phone call. My son came. They picked me up, and almost exactly 72 hours after my surgery, I was on my way home in my son's car with my wife and my granddaughter, functioning, walking, talking, and being my old self. We still have some follow-up visits. We still have some challenges ahead. But I must tell you, miracles do happen right here in River City because I'm one of them, and thank God I am. Since I was released, I've had radiation therapy to reduce the risk of recurrence to less than 10%. The radiation caused some side effects for which I had to take steroids. But God's hand held me close through the entire event. And I must tell you, the experience that I had was something I will treasure the rest of my life. And God made this so bearable that I took no pain medication, even right after surgery. And I have to tell you, they opened my skull and I have a 6-inch scar on the side of my head. So God's miracles are real. They can happen to everybody and anybody. And I would just like to thank Mike for this opportunity and thank you for listening, and God bless you all.